Hi everyone, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Addie.
and this is Musical Artists A Conversation. On today's podcast episode, we have Hurrii Haran joining us today.
Welcome to the limelight.
Hurrii Haran is a Trinidadian rapper and singer originally from East New York, Brookyln. Today, we will be discussing how his culture and community has influenced his afro-pop and R&B sound, what his thoughts are on the exponential growth his songs have received in recent years, and what projects he is currently working on for the future. So, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm glad to be here with y'all having this talk. It feels great already.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're gonna get right into the questions. We kind of always ask our artists, I guess, how they started out. And more importantly, we've never had a chance to interview anyone from New York yet. And so we wanted to ask, I guess, not only about your sound, but how specifically your relationship with Brooklyn, your relationship with your family and friends have influenced your style. So if you can talk about that, that'd be great.
Oh man, well, like growing up in New York and like family, friends, just the whole setting, like it really does shape you. Cause like as a kid, I just remember, everybody's a kid, everybody's new. We're like a fresh sponge, so you're just absorbing like what's around you, and so like I just remember feeling like aggression, like just feeling that New York aggression early. And like, I understand why people who aren't born in New York will see us as kind of like aggressive or like, just I guess loud people. Like I don't know, there's a lot of ways to describe us. But like, just trips to the city, like as a kid, walking in the city and stuff like that. I learned from like young just that New Yorker mentality, like having a like just that quick pace or like pushing by people and all of that. Like it's just kind of it's like when you're born into it, you're like thrown into it and you become it. And so like yeah, it just kind of shapes that until like you get old enough to start unlearning certain things and like building your own personality and all of that, picking what to keep, picking what to like take out. But like I guess from a parent standpoint, like it taught me like how to respect myself um and that goes a long way in music because like a lot of people might not have the confidence to just do their own thing in terms of sound or like people might feel like that they have to hop on what's hot already like a wave. And so I think like the city has helped me retain like just a lot of individuality.
And I know you've said before that you started your music career and like really making music in high school. And before that, you did a lot of poetry and writing. And so I guess in your poetry and writing, was that same like hustle reflected in that writing too? Or I guess did that change once you started getting into rap?
I think it kind of changed when I started getting into like rap and stuff because in poetry it was more so like at a young age, just discovering that I could rhyme. And so just taking whatever words I could find, like some of it might not even have made sense, like, until later in life. But the hustle definitely came with age in terms of like trying to like, reflect my city in my music. And after a while, I would say I even like kind of stopped doing that, like putting like a lot of New York in my music, like and just putting more of myself into it, if that makes sense. Because I don't know, I feel like I'm already from New York, so people are gonna hear that in certain songs. Like it's hard to mask the accent. Like if I just just be myself with it, then I'll find my way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, the Limelight, we're predominantly based in Chicago. Not all of our team members are, but a lot of us and a lot of our readers have like a really deep and close relationship with the independent music scene there. So we were wondering if like New York's local music scene has personally influenced you at all. And for people who are unfamiliar, could you kind of describe the community there?
I would say actually absolutely, absolutely, because I was making music in high school, started in like 2017. And the music scene in terms of underground was like just a lot of drill based music, a lot of like what I would call negative music. Cause I don't like, that's just the vibe it gives me. Like, that's just what it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That's what it is. And with that being like the scene at the time and me knowing that that's not me, like it kind of inspired me more to just make my own type of music. Cause all I see is everybody making this, like literally everyone who makes music or who starts making music. It doesn't matter if they never picked up a gun. or did anything to anybody. Like I've had friends just start making drill music and like, not live that life. So seeing that, it was just like, yeah, like nah, if nobody else is gonna be themselves fully in music, or like I can't say that actually because some drill artists are being themselves in music, but for the people who aren't, like if everybody's just gonna go the drill route, then I'm super gonna be myself because that puts me in a lane of my own. And so seeing that from 2017, that put me that kept me inspired. And then I think two or 3 years after I graduated, that's when I started finding like a real creative scene in New York between like vocal artists, photographers, dancers, like a whole just community. And it was more of like what I would describe substance, like, just speaking about other things that, it's not that aren't really violent, like just real life experiences or manifesting what you want, stuff like that. That showed me like a different side of New York and, people my age, older, younger. And that kind of multiplied the inspiration because it's like, okay, like, maybe the outside people in New York might really like see that drill is the wave right now, but there's a whole nother like kind of mini world that people aren't seeing yet.
You mentioned in a previous interview that growing up, you'd ask your brother for feedback on your singing,
Yeah.
and it sounded like he was pretty blunt with you back then. So I
No,
was wondering, do you still ask him or like any of your other family members on opinions for work now?
absolutely. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't ask much of my family for opinions on my music. Most of my family doesn't really listen to my music. Like, I know who listens to my music in my family, but like, that's neither here nor there. My brother, for a fact, I still ask him, but like indirectly. Now it's not like, oh, do you think this sounds good? It's just like, just sending him my songs whenever I'm done recording. He'll listen to them. I'll hear him listening to them. I think, yeah, like my dad and my brother are the most vocal in terms of like, just helping me, figure out which songs are really like are sticking and which ones aren't.
If some of your family and some of your other family are listening to your music, aren't listening to your music,
Mhm.
I guess who would you say you're making your music for? Like, what is your intended audience?
Sometimes it sounds selfish to me, but I know for a fact, like before anybody else, I make music for myself because like I just had the thought along my musical journey where it's like, make the music that you want to hear. I feel like a lot of times nowadays people don't make the music I want to hear. Like I go back to older artists a lot, like Sade, Michael Jackson, just to name two. I always just go back and like, to hear people speak about like something that is just like, that just gives me life, like that is relatable. And I would say so like first it's for me, but like I know I'm not the only person that feels that way. So it's like for me and people who like, feel like me, people who are going through, similar situations, even people who may not be going through similar situations who want to hear a different perspective and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
like it's definitely for like yeah, I don't want to sound corny, but I make music for everyone. Like I feel like everybody can listen to my music.
Your singles such as like Beyonce Zoom and on, um, do sound like very personal and it sounds like you're making music for yourself since you're kind of talking about like the pace of life and like emotions that come out of like relationships. So I guess how do you make lyrics out of that? Like, does it take a lot of introspection? Would you say that you still write pretty personal music, or have you kind of expanded out of that?
No, I definitely still write personal music. Um, and like the way it comes about sometimes like all right, I don't really like my creative process. I don't really like to force myself to write or like just think too deep into my feelings. Like sometimes when I just like those just very potent emotional moments like where just something comes over you, like that's a good time for me to write because it's like I'm feeling everything very strongly. And like, that came with, all right, so like the song Can't Deny. I was drunk that night. I came home at like 3 a.m. and I was drinking beforehand. It was like some parties going on or whatever. And then like, there was this girl I had a crush on, and like that song just came to me. Like I had the beat for like a week or whatever, and I was struggling to write to it. But then I just put my headphones on. I got in my room and just wrote out just what I was feeling in my heart. Like just right there, the whole entire song. I didn't stop writing until I was finished. And then like that's my best creative flow. Like when I just feel when feelings come over me.
I was wondering how much of an effect does physical location have on your music making process? Like, is there a difference working out of New York versus like maybe LA?
Oh man, so I feel like I make my most polished music in LA for sure, because like I'm blessed to like work with a label and they put me through artist development and stuff like that. So it's like my A&R Chris Riddick Tynes. I'm in the studio with him. Like it's we're working for like he is very like he's a great coach like for real. So I I'm singing takes like 10 times. One line, I'm singing it 10 times just to get the best version of it, stuff like that. The creative process with writing, like he pushes me to just think more. Like I'll get a line and he'll be like, good, but we can do better. And so like before before meeting him, before creating out there, I would get that line in my head and I'd be like, yeah, I like this. And I wouldn't really think deeper into how I could make it better. More than that, like it already just felt like enough. But going through that, going through the frustrations, like nah, but I really like this line. I really like this take. Going through those frustrations and then hearing the final product of like Zoom on my upcoming single Drunk, it's like yeah, there's sometimes you might think you know it all, but there's always like levels to go up stuff. So I think I'm definitely more comfortable creating in New York, but I think I make my best music in LA.
I was gonna ask, this transitions pretty nicely. How was your transition from being independent to being signed with Arista? You kind of already spoke to how it's affected your artistic process, but I was wondering kind of what made it feel like the right choice for you. And since we're the limelight and we really want to help up and coming artists kind of get a better perspective, for someone who might be looking to have kind of like a similar career trajectory to you, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, definitely take your time. Like me and my managers, we took our time. We met with a lot of we met with a lot of labels. We met with a bunch of labels, and you really just have to pay attention to like how they talk to you, what they propose to you and stuff like that. Like when I met with Arista, they made it clear like we're taking our time. We have also just like a smaller artist roster than compared to many labels. And as a small artist, I think that's very important. Like how many artists are signed to that label? Because if you go to a label that has about 200 people signed, and then you're going into there like nothing is promised. Like you can be buzzing at good at one point and then things can go down or you can go up higher. Like everything is very objective. I guess like it's very circumstantial to like different people, to each person. I think the best thing would be to go to something that is like intimate. Like my relationship with Arista feels intimate because they have the time to focus on me. I have relationships with the staff. I have relationships with the CEO. I could go up to the office anytime, any day, speak to them, chill out, like, just email, text, get responses just like that. And I think that's very like important as like an up and coming artist because once you go to somewhere that has like The Weeknd or Playboy Cardi or Kanye or Kendrick or Drake, like, once that artist and then the big artists under them have projects coming out and all of that, like they're top priority over you. And it's going to be hard to get on the phone with certain people and do certain things. So definitely go somewhere where they would have time to prioritize you and grow you as an artist, like develop you, you know, singing lessons, all of that, like rehearsals, everything.
That is great advice. And on the topic of kind of taking time, up until this point, you've released a number of singles. I was wondering how and when do you kind of choose to pull the trigger on a full-length project? Does the like microcosmic storytelling that singles kind of lend themselves to feel right for you for now and maybe the foreseeable future? Or have you kind of already thought about what like a debut EP or album might look like?
Yeah, so like the whole time I'm working on singles and stuff like that, I'm stacking up songs, seeing what sounds good together, what song sounds good after the other, um, what makes sense together, like in a playlist and a body of work. Like I've since being signed to Arista, I've made like 5 drafts of EP, like 5 drafts, and like I just keep making more music. So like it's adding stuff, subtracting stuff, but at this point, I think I have songs that I believe in. It's for an EP. I have the singles out already that I know are going to be on there. And then I have unreleased songs where it's just like, okay, I've been listening to this for months, or this song has stuck with me before I even signed with Arista, like, before I even dropped Beyonce. So things like that mean a lot to me because like if a if a song that I make, if I like, yeah, if I don't get annoyed by my voice, if I've been listening to this song over and over again, like it's me, I feel the confidence to share it with the world because it's like, okay, like I'm not cringing at any lyrics. I don't, I'm not, just, yeah, I'm not tired of it yet, so I'll give it a shot. That's like kind of my way of choosing.
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask kind of a similar vein. Uh, you were originally posting on SoundCloud and you had like an array of work
Mhm.
before you came out with like Beyonce and everything.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just wanted to know the challenges and the successes that you have experienced now that you've, like we said, been signed with Arista Records. You're being featured on different radio stations and getting recognized by bigger artists. I guess in a general sense, how has that affected you and even affected your personal style?
It definitely does like give you or at least me, it gives me a sense of like a standard to carry because but it's always been like that. I can't even say it's just being signed because you know, the more I make music, the more I feel like the better I get. And so, um, I've always like I've felt the need to private my songs that like just my experimental process is what I call it. It's a journey, but it feels like an experimental process. I've always felt the need to like private it after a certain point just so people can have like a better idea of what to focus on in terms of what I've created because like in my SoundCloud like everything is private but there's like hundreds of songs on there and not all of them are good like not all, like like I don't know not all of them is something I would want to share for people to hear now and that is like jumping from that time like looking at where I was creating in that time period to like how I am able to create now. I would say like, I'm just completely myself now. Like there was times in music where I was like, not being truthful in my raps or like just speaking about things that I haven't done before. But now I have the full confidence to like just literally just go in a booth and sing about like what I like, what I want to experience or what I would want from the world, stuff like that. So
Yeah. Um, as you've started to, I guess, collaborate with more not only musicians, but just different creatives in every field, since you have a lot of like music videos and visualizers out, how do you stick to your true authentic self when you're collaborating with other people?
I would say like you really just gotta be strict with yourself and just like it's easy to adopt other people's habits sometimes like when you hang out with them when you collab with them and you do certain things but like definitely being like stern and strict like people may suggest certain things like everybody has your best interest as a in terms of like wanting like when people give you suggestions seeing something bigger for you but like from their point of view and so, and that, like, you have to like take all of that with a grain of salt and just remember what you want at the end of the day. And so it's like, people might want you to be in a music video with like 5 cars, maybe, or 10 girls, or like, just throwing money everywhere, doing certain things. But it's like, if that's not the image you want to show for yourself, you just gotta say, no, you just, you have to like just say no or be yourself or say yes or like do whatever you have to do that is true to you. Like, you just have to jump in full fledged.
And what was that experience like making music videos and featuring different singers and artists on your songs? Like, was that exciting? Was that really weird for you?
Yeah, it's exciting. Music videos are kind of stressful some days. Some days, I'm not gonna lie, because after a while, when I do things, I just want to chill. I just want to take a break. But like in terms of having the opportunity to have great visuals, work with different directors, and even have artists come out and support, like it's definitely is big because that's what I dreamt of from when I first started making music. Like that's not the all I've wanted from it, but it's like that would be cool. Like having a budget for videos, working with this artist or having this artist and like just around in the music video and stuff like that. like it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
I was wondering, similar to what you kind of alluded to, but seeing a record blow up for you, for example, in this case being Beyonce, what do you kind of take away from that experience, in terms of like, it started in the studio, probably intimately, and then it went out into the world and you got like a lot of love and attention for it. So do you now come into the studio with new perspectives on when you're writing? Like, does that at all affect your process? Do you ever get in your head of like, oh, I need it to be like that, or do you try to avoid falling into those
That's
thoughts?
exactly how it was like that whole summer, honestly, where it's just like, how do I how do I match Beyonce? How do I do that? And like,
Hmm.
I feel like listening back to the music from that time period, like I have a lot of songs from that summer that I like, but I do notice in certain songs where it's just like, yeah, like, I'm chasing a sound where when I was making Beyonce, I wasn't really chasing a sound. I was creating just to create, creating because I like, like this is what I was feeling. So it definitely took some time to unlearn that. Like, that's not what I make music for. Like, it's not, to like match a sound, to chase a moment, because that's not how I got there. Like, that was definitely a phase of it. But then, like, now, I'm just back to creating just off of the basis of wanting to create for real.
That's great to hear. And kind of similarly, we're kind of in a time where being an artist isn't just about making music. Like social media is such a prominent channel for pushing
Mhm.
records. So artists are pretty much expected to be like front and center and producing content and marketing their
Yeah.
music. So I was wondering, what is your relationship to social media as a musician? And kind of like what you said, do you think it influences you during the songwriting process? Do you ever feel like, oh, I need that like TikTok hit? Or like, do you wish that social media was less emphasized in the industry than it is?
If our manager was here, he would love this question, I swear. Because I'm terrible. I'm terrible with social media. Um, I always like sometimes, yeah, we go back and forth. Like that's my brother for real. We're not blood brother, but like we've grown to be brothers. And like sometimes I'm like, bro, like I'm not a content creator. I make music. I don't want to post like 3 TikToks every day and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's necessary because you do want to get your message out there. You do want to be seen as an artist. You want to get out there. But like, sometimes I'm just like, damn, I should have blew up in 2005, man. Like I wouldn't have to worry. I wouldn't have
That's
to
so
worry about
funny.
no Instagram or nothing like that. Just put my video on BT. I'm good. But
Hmm.
you know, yeah, like it's just having to adapt to it. And after a while, when like I'm really starting to get the hang of it. Like with TikTok and all that, it's not always just having to post a song that you did or whatever. Like just show some cool life moments. Show what you want. Just, make sure you're promoting your music here and there as well. But like build an audience. Like if don't just be like a robot with it and like people click your page and they're like, oh yeah, artists already know. Like, be a person as well with it. So there's a balance. But before I was definitely feeling like, come on, man, like I just music all the time. Like like this feels like a job now. Like I have to go on my phone and post at this time, at this time, at this time. But that's not necessarily what it is at all. It's just getting yourself out there.
I have a question that's like kind of this is a self-fulfilling question, but I was just wondering, is there like a story behind the digital artwork for Beyonce? I really like it. It's just a really pretty picture, so I was wondering if there was
With the
what was the
with
process?
the with the with the 3 ladies. Oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So they were in the music video. So that was taken at the shoot for the music video that same day. That was my friends Aurora, Israel, and Maya. And yeah, so they were at the shoot. I appreciate them for coming that day so much. Like everybody who came that day made like that whole moment. Like it was great. It was great. I texted people. I posted about that like last minute, like 2 days before, a day before. Just so many of my friends came out to support, and it was really fun.
So did you guys take that picture with the like intention of like, oh, this should be like the artwork for it, or did it just happen to turn out that
No,
way?
like Beyonce already had a cover. I hope my friend Destiny doesn't kill me. She was the original cover, but then like when I was trying, I kind of really just wanted to have everything be cohesive, and I wanted to switch the cover at the time. And those that was like the picture that was really like sticking with me. I was like, this looks like this is an attractive picture. Like people will click on this, like before they even read the song title probably or even notice like so. Or even just scrolling on the feed, somebody's gonna stop and swipe back up and it was like that was really a
Good choice.
great picture. Like I like that picture a lot.
That's so cool. This isn't really a question, but you were talking about like social media and like just being a person, and I feel like you do a really good job at that. When I was doing like my research and like watching your previous interviews, all the comments were like, he literally just seems like such a cool, authentic, genuine guy.
Thank
And
you, thank
so I feel like, yeah, you're doing like a really good job at that. And that definitely shows through in your creative process, like what you're just saying with Beyonce and like the music video, like having your friends in there. I feel like that's not something that a lot of artists do anymore. And like even in our own creative fields, like the Limelight team, we try to do a lot of things with like our own community. And so that's like a really inspiring, very cool thing.
thank you.
So yeah, I guess moving on a little bit towards like your future and like your current projects. I just want to know if you could like speak, I guess, a little bit about what you're working on currently. I know you have a single releasing like pretty soon, like in a few
Yeah, in a
days,
few days.
that we had some questions about, but also I guess if you had any other like projects or songs that are in development like right now, or any thoughts on like new sounds that you want to play with, just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I am working on like, I'm signed to EP deal. So I'm working on releasing my EP. That's what I want to do next after my next single. I want to really start finalizing that, like putting that together, get the mixes together, start working on cover art. I really honestly even haven't like settled on a title yet because, this is like really important to me. Like I really want to get it right. Like this is a lot of, this is going to be more people paying attention to a project than like before when I probably had like 100 followers and I was dropping like the 12 track projects for like 100 followers. And definitely like, I'm ready. I think I'm ready for that at this point. So that should be what's next. Honestly, it really should be. I'm excited for that.
Do you have like upcoming like live shows or performances at all? Or
I'm like I can't even say what it was supposed to be, but I was supposed to have a big performance that is like, in March, but now like that's not promised anymore. Hopefully it does
no.
go through so I could just have like, a nice reveal, a nice announcement on the social medias. But as of right
Yeah.
now, not really. Just more so just recording, just practicing recording and stuff like that. Because as an artist, I'm also trying to get more, paid gigs, like just get more paid gigs. Be like a lot of times I do even to this day, like I'll do free performances like at my friends' shows and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
I just like to perform. I like making music at the end of the day. At some point have to you have to like start getting, compensated for what you do and stuff. So
How is that experience performing live for people? Like, what is your thoughts? Does that motivate you a lot?
yeah, it's very powerful because like if you have like the power to like, just engage people, especially when at this stage, like well, at this stage, I definitely have a few more people singing my songs with me in the crowd rather than just my friends. Still, it's like if you can get people who have never heard you whatsoever, they don't like, they never heard your name, they've never heard your music, they just know you're on this stage, you're a new person. If you can get them to like be like, oh, like I like this, start dancing, like, putting their hands up, clapping, like that's very powerful. Like, as a performer, like just not only relying on your music, but like getting people involved, like doing a little like stuff like that, or a snap, or like walking around. Like just not only is I don't like to just stay on stage. Sometimes like if possible, I'll step off stage and like get into the crowd and like just make a moment with people. I think it's very powerful because like yeah, it is making it's helping people have a good time, and that's something I guess like people will take for granted. Like they it takes a lot to get people to enjoy your music as a new artist. Like from my first performances, I was just like, dang, like nobody gonna try to dance or nothing. Like everybody's just so dry in the crowd. But then it went from like, not being able to work a crowd like that to like being able to get people engaged. Like if I see people just standing still too much, I'm gonna make sure they start clapping or something. Like, I don't it's crowd control. It's all crowd control.
I was gonna ask, like, looking really far into the future, and also, like, you could say anything, like, just whatever comes to mind. It doesn't have to be realistic. I was just wondering about, like, do you have, like, a dream project, a dream, like, accolade or award, dream collaborator, or, like, maybe even a dream side hustle that you want to fulfill in the future?
Dream collab would probably have to be Beyonce or Kendrick or this a long shot, but Sade would be a crazy collab for me. That would be insane. a Grammy would be cool. I'm not the biggest on chasing awards because it's like at the end of the day, people perceiving me musically is like it's gonna sound corny, but that is a big reward. Like that's why I keep it going because I see that I have the ability to connect with people and like grow my audience, and so like that's cool. That's cool for me.
Do you think it ever like you'd ever do like fashion or anything on the side, or do you think it's always gonna be music?
Definitely, I would definitely do fashion. I like clothes. I like looking fly. Everybody likes to look fly. Everybody likes to feel good in clothes and stuff like that. And so, yeah, like I've had the opportunity to do a few like Kids Super. I'm pretty close with a few people from Kids Super. So, the more we grow our relationship, the more hopefully I would get opportunities to model for them. But like they've held me down, and they from on and on music video, they gave me an outfit for that. If I need an outfit for parties, like I would just hit up somebody from the team and be like, "Can I please, like, hey, I'm trying to look super fly for this one party. Let's do something." But they always like they show love. They show love.
Awesome. That's awesome. We're kind of getting to wrap up pretty soon,
Okay.
but like you said, Drunk's gonna come out soon. Is it still February 7th?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you tell a few words to our readers, maybe like a little bit introduction on the song?
So the song is literally comparing love to being drunk. Like, just the feeling, the potency of like having a crush on somebody or just being full fledged in love with them. Like, the hook is like, drunk or a few, need me a cold one, I had a few. Like, just stuff like that where it's just a lot of, just wordplay, double entendre. It's like cold one, you could be talking about a bear, you could be talking about a lady. So just stuff like that. Like, it's just gonna like, I like to talk about love in creative ways in my music and like, not have it be repetitive. Like it's not gonna be like can't deny is about love, but so is Zoom, so is Drunk. But like, I feel like they all showcase love differently.
Well, I know we're all really excited to hear it because we all really love your
Thank
music.
you. I
So can't
appreciate
wait for February
I
7th.
appreciate that. I appreciate
Is there gonna be a like a visualizer out with it or
Oh yeah, yeah. We're always
any?
gonna there should always be visualizer videos and stuff. This video might come out a little like not the same day as the song, but for every song I plan on releasing the video visuals and stuff because like
Awesome.
they do pretty well. They do pretty well like with the with the YouTube and stuff. They do pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they look great, so
Thank
makes sense.
thank you.
Yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for coming on the Limelight
Yes, yes.
podcast. It really meant a lot. This is a great
No,
interview.
this was great. This was probably one of the most comfortable interviews I've had. Honestly, I appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, literally that does mean a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you have any like social media, obviously, that you want to shout out, feel free to right now.
Well, all the listeners can find me everywhere at Hurrii Haran on Instagram, X, TikTok, wherever. Just HurriHaran.
Awesome.
Follow him right now, guys.
Yes.
Go.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one.